You have to treat yourself better. And you have to know what to allow and what not to allow in your own life. Don't allow people to dictate what you will be or what you will have or what you will do. They're people. Don't fault them for it, because we all have this thing where we might think we're helping someone, or that we're, just keeping it real or keeping it Z. But it's just the fact that if you didn't say something to someone with the intention to help them, it's like you could have caused some kind of harm to that person. But the person who caused the harm isn't the one who has to address it. It's the person who received the harsh reality. Each one of us who receive any type of reality about any torment we've experienced or endured, it's kind of a thing where you got to say, why can't I just admit that that is what it is and what I went through? And sometimes we are still in it, so we can't even recognize that we're trapped still in our own entrapment. There was never a time that I felt like I could leave that first relationship of domestic violence because I didn't understand y'all the way I do now. But before, it was like I was so afraid to leave because I was codependent of the financial piece. It was my first serious adult relationship. I took relationships serious, and I'm a love hard kind of person. And when I say I love hard, I mean unconditionally, meaning there was no time that I wasn't able to forgive and move forward. The unfortunate thing was that when I was forgiving and accepting, I didn't take heed to the fact that you don't have to repeat the same thing with a person. If someone is going through domestic violence and they feel like they're stuck, it gives you this feeling of like, I can't speak on other women, but I can say for myself, it felt like it was normal. It just felt normal because of the background of my life. And I've forgiven him. To this day, I don't mind speaking. But the issue is that to smile in the faces of everyone that we know and make pretend your love is genuine for me, when really you might have just drugged me down the street last week because I didn't do what you wanted me to do, or whatever reasons people feel like abuse is necessary. Now I look at my past and I'm like, I didn't want to victimize myself because I was told that that's what I was doing. I didn't want to say I want to leave because I actually allowed myself to fear what he would do. I didn't allow myself to be real because there were things that I felt trapped by him for, when he would cry and apologize, or when he would say that he was sorry. And I would just be like, okay, I forgive. And I would stay. I'm not saying that that made me stupid or weak. I actually look at it as a thing that made me stronger. But what happened was I never faced the ending. I should have left the very first time it happened. No matter how much I love hard, I should have looked at it as if, I forgive you, but you will never see me again. You will never have me again. And once I realized that a person knows what they're doing, I don't care if they want to say they got mental health issues and that's why they did it, I don't excuse myself for having depression. So I'm not going to excuse an abuser for either beating a woman to death or killing her. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I was right for excusing them. I should not have excused those endings. And it's just really important for people to just recognize that when you're going through depression, it can be rough. That road is rough. And if you don't have any type of plan of action to the destination, you could fold. I want to say that for myself, like, there are many things that I still need to address that were endings, but the more harsh things were those things that I've mentioned. And I think this is the first time that I've ever openly said that I was a victim of domestic violence before in my life. But that was so long ago that I thought it would just kind of disappear, you know? But my spirit was still suffering from that hurt because I never looked at it and said to myself, do I love me? Do I love me? Do I love me? How much do I love me? What will I do for me? How far will I go for me? Will I do research about fibroids and cysts so that I can prevent that thing to happen again in my future? Do I love me enough to be celibate and keep my body as a temple until I'm able to actually fill out energy before I allow soul ties to take place? Because those are things that I personally believe exist. I do believe that if you share sexual experience with somebody, you are sharing a soul tie, and which would need to be broken prior to you trying to tie into soul with someone else. Before I get married, I need all those things to be erased. And getting married was the cherry on the cake, because that was when it was time for me to really take myself serious. And that was a personal thing. I decided in my mind that because I was married, I wanted to seriously take a journey of self to learn to be the most amazing wife God created me and women to be for my husband. But what I failed to do was make sure that I took the time to see if that was mutual, and if how I viewed things was received correctly, and if I was receiving correctly what was going on in the altar. And because I didn't face endings, I went through a journey of figuring out that I've attracted a lot of narcissistic abuse into my life. I don't have anything against people who have extensive narcissistic behaviors, because I have narcissistic behaviors. We all have a portion of narcissism in our DNA, just as much as we have a portion of empathy in our DNA. But the majority of us are, a lot of us can be 95% narcissism, and the rest of it, you know, trickle a little here and there of humility and niceness, and then boom, you got the covert narcissist. So it's just a matter of knowing and recognizing the mental health behind the endings, the reasoning behind the endings. Now, I did excuse a lot of the domestic violence because, and I had to look at this. I realized that I excused a lot of the domestic violence because I cared about his well-being, because he had been through things. As a child, he had been through things. And I looked at it like, you know, everybody deserves love, no matter what they have gone through, what is stopping their life, what they did wrong. I felt like, you know, everybody deserves love, and everybody has the option to deserve a second chance. However, everybody doesn't have to give second chances. You don't have to sacrifice yourself a second time for someone because of their mistakes. You don't have to do that. They have to now face the fact that they hurt you, and that it may never be an opportunity for them to do that again. And if they never planned on doing it again, it doesn't matter, because they're not going to have the opportunity with you again. That is where I set boundaries on my life, on my existence, on who I am. I said, do I love me? And I had to realize that it took me, I wanted to go on a self-journey. In 2019, I decided to start that self-journey. And I was trying to balance that in a marriage. And while doing so, I was so focused on me. But I'm not going to give myself any, I'm not going to overbash myself, because I feel like I did my best. But at the same time, when you take a self-journey and you have a family, you need to be sure that you are understood, so that when you do the things you're doing, it's received correctly. But at the same time, if you separate yourself and you take the journey away from the entire situation, healing takes its course, and God will talk to you. And once I realized that God will speak to you the moment you say, I need you, your world will change, and He'll transform you, because that's what happens with endings, transformation for beginnings. That's the healing. And I hate to say that a lot of times a heartbreak or an ending is the reason why you get that healthy skin, that new weight loss, or that new job, or whatever it may be that you get. But just know that that ending is no longer on you. It's no longer a part of your life. And you now have the ability to look into other things, other options, and to accept that you may have to take life this way. Just know that when you accept the ending for what it is, the blessing of that beginning that God has for you, once you have been able to push and pull through that ending, God was watching you fight. He was watching you dedicate your life to Him and to that relationship with Him, so that He could fix and heal your spirit. Because that's what that healing is. And once you get that, it's like the outpour of the beginning after the healing is just so amazing. It's like a weight or boulder lifted off of your back, because you took the time to love yourself, to really heal, to really say, I choose me. I choose me. I choose me. So that's just something that I just really wanted to share about depression. This will be a part 1. I'll get more into domestic violence, losing a child, not being able to have children, being told that you're not being able to have children, and many other endings that we need to address. Make sure you take the time to just, really say, do I love me? And then act on it, meaning love yourself then. That is all. Thank you all for listening, and God bless.